I'm so angry about last night. This Chelsea team are lacking in absolutely every ingredient that you demand from your team. I'm not only talking about skill and silk and ability, I'm talking about heart and desire. We are nothing. We have absolutely nothing. No fight, no tenacity, no spirit. We are an embarrassment to the badge. And every single player on that pitch, with the exception of Cole Palmer, should hang their head in shame. It was pathetic, truly pathetic. And Mauricio Pochettino should hang his head in shame. Every single person that was involved from a Chelsea perspective in what happened at Old Trafford last night should be ashamed, truly ashamed. It was an embarrassment of the highest order. Like when I was a kid, far worse Chelsea teams than this would go to Old Trafford and beat far better Manchester United teams than this. Gavin Peacock, last minute winner. Gianluca Vialli, Michael Dubry, it happened. I lived it. That's what we did. We were excellent playing Manchester United. We went 30 years. We only lost 2 games up until 1997. From the 60s till 1997. Remember in that period, we went 25 years without a trophy. We would turn up at Old Trafford. They were a brilliant team at times. Winning doubles. We did the double over them in the league when they won the league and cup. We did the double over them in the league. They won the Premier League and they won the FA Cup in the same year. We beat them home and away in the league. And look at this. Look at this now. This bunch of wasters. Is it possible to dislike a team more? It's a horrible thing. I don't know if you can help with this. I don't know if you can empathise with this. Depending on who you support, you may have never had experience of this, or you may fully comprehend and empathise with what I'm saying. But help me rationalise this. I don't think I've ever disliked a crop of Chelsea players more than this crop. There is nothing. I reckon I like about 5 of them. I love Thiago Silva. I love Cole Palmer. After that, it just becomes so difficult. So many of them are so average and so dislikable. And do you know what? I don't think they care. I really don't. I don't think they care. I don't think Pochettino cares. You can see that there is a sort of acquiescence to getting battered. And that is what Manchester United did to us. They battered us. That game, 2-1, when we look back, and Chelsea will try and confine this game to the ash heap of history, forget it. But it will live forever now. And anyone that lived and watched it will know that it was a battering. 2-1, absolutely not. That was a 4-0, 5-0 battering. We couldn't get the ball off them. They had wave after wave of attack. It was painful. And you look at how many chances they created. You look at their dominance. Look at how many corners they had. I saw a stat at half-time. 18-5. It was 18-5 on the shot count at half-time. 18-5. Can you just also remember that this Manchester United team are distinctly average? I know that they went on a run, but that was because the fixtures were very kind to them. They're not a good team. They've had a terrible week. They're borderline in disarray. They got battered by Newcastle last week, but this is how they react. We got battered by Newcastle the week before. And what happens? We limp on. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And by the end of that game, right, I said the half-time stats in terms of trying to reveal the dominance of Manchester United. By full time, 28 shots Chelsea faced. 28. Manchester United had 12 corners. 2-1. The only reason that we scored was because of the brilliance of Cole Palmer. That is the only reason that Chelsea had anything to show for the night or any hope of getting anything out of the game. Cole Palmer. A player that this board didn't even want. They lucked out. They wanted Elise, but Elise was too wise to these idiots and said no. They wanted Smith Rowe. Arsenal wouldn't do business with us, and we ended up with Cole Palmer. We got lucky. That wasn't even part. Cole Palmer. You can't go, Chelsea getting it right. We're signing. We're being very astute in the transfer market. We're signing exciting young Premier League footballers, because that's not what happened. We lucked out. It's a travesty. And basically, the magic from Palmer, and I thought Sanchez made some good saves. I didn't think he had a particularly good game overall. I thought his distribution was ridiculous. But he made some good saves. But that is the only reason that the game ended up the way it did. And let's just analyse quite how bad it is for Chelsea to go and get battered by Manchester United. Think about who Manchester United are at the moment. Okay, they're vulnerable. They're basically out of the Champions League. They've got huge issues. Erik ten Hag is under massive pressure. There is so much going on at the club. They've had an awful week. They got battered at Newcastle last week. They've had to ban journalists from the club. The sale is going on. You cannot move from headlines about how disjointed and unmotivated Manchester United are. Pick up any paper over the past month, the club is in disarray. Headlines, Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho's going to wait for Ten Hag to get sacked because he knows he can. There's a mole in the camp. There's total disharmony. Eric Ten Hag on the verge of a sack. It's constant. They play us and they look like Ferguson's treble winners. How? Who needs to take responsibility for that? Yeah, I think Clear Lake and Todd Bowley are the worst thing that's ever happened to Chelsea. Ever. But the players that were there need to take responsibility. The manager that was on the touchline needs to take responsibility. Like, it is appalling that a club that is apparently at war, Manchester United, the players aren't happy with the manager. The manager obviously doesn't like the players. The club have banished the journalists. And the jewel in the crown, right, the Manc born and bred, Marcus Rashford, was dropped. Now, this is interesting, actually, right? He was dropped. That's clever. It's brave. It's tactical. It's bold. It's dominating. It's managerial. It's prestigious. It's what a manager does. Makes big, bold, brave decisions to affect the game. And guess what? Dropping Marcus Rashford was a big, brave, bold decision that worked. And as a result of Eric Ten Hag's bravery, Manchester United have now finally beaten a top six rival. Ten Hag got it right. Ten Hag deserves the credit. Ten Hag is the reason that they got that result. The players deserve. Look, McTominay scoring 2, brilliant. I thought Amrabat was very good. I thought Bruno Fernandes was very good. I think there were a lot of positives for Manchester United. But I have been very snide, where applicable, to Eric Ten Hag. I thought that his position at the club was untenable, in fact, because the players seemed to stop buying into his approach. But he fought on, and he has done really well. My question is, off the back of that, when will our manager do that? When will our manager make a big, brave, clever, incisive, unpredictable, brilliant decision that affects the game? When will he do something managerial? Because people don't want to hear this. People don't want to talk about it. I never really hear it. But when you think about the pressure that Eric Ten Hag has been under, and you compare it to Pochettino, it doesn't really make any sense. And you think about where Chelsea are languishing. Think about the performances of Chelsea. Think about the money spent by Chelsea. Think about the players at his disposal. I don't like them. But there's still some good footballers in there. We still shouldn't be languishing in the bottom half of the league. Season over on the 7th of December. It's absolutely pathetic. And Pochettino got it wrong yesterday again. Like that back four. Cucurella at right back. With Colwell at left back. With Reece James on the bench. That back line is going to get battered. You've then got a midfield of Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. What data, what track record have we got to suggest that those two players can dominate a game at Old Trafford? What have you got apart from... Look, people go, we're quarter of a billion quid, those two. What a travesty. What an absolute joke. Those two players, £250 million. But that's it. You've got no data. You've got no learned knowledge from seeing them play football to suggest that those two players are capable of dominating a game at Old Trafford. And they couldn't, and they didn't. And people don't want to talk about it. But Enzo Fernandez, distinctly average. Not a very good footballer. People don't want to hear it. People will start now commenting, I'm sure he won the World Cup. And Lionel Messi said he was good. And he scored that goal against Mexico. Been at Chelsea a year. How many good games he had? I tell you what, you count them on one hand and you will have fingers to spare. Caicedo. Is Caicedo better than John McGinn? Genuinely. Is he? I honestly don't think he is. And Pochettino needs to make a brave and bold decision and win us some games. Like, you think about what Ten Hag did dropping Marcus Rashford. It worked. United, they were so full of energy, so full of purpose, skill on both flanks. They didn't miss Rashford. Garnacho's a boy, man. He's brilliant. And I thought Anthony, I know he's not popular, but I thought Anthony played well. And yet again, Ten Hag got it right. Yet again, Ten Hag made a big, brave decision, and it worked. And it's not the first time. When he longed off Harry Maguire and brought in Lisandro Martinez, that was brave. That was brave, because it would have been very easy for Ten Hag to hide behind Maguire. It would have been very easy for him to go, do you know what? Maguire's this captain. You bought him. He's 80 million quid. Not my fault if he can't play well. And he could have hidden behind him. What he did, though, he was brave. He brought in his own man. He brought in his own man in Martinez. When you bring in your own man, the buck stops with you. You also make a statement. You strip Maguire of the captaincy. You drop him from the first team. Brave. Making proper decisions. And he's done it before with Rashford, in fact. This time last year do you remember Rashford missed a team meeting, I think. And United went away to Molineux. This was when Rashford was brilliant. Rashford was fantastic around January of last year. He was England's top goal scorer at the World Cup. Rashford had missed a team meeting, only by a couple of minutes, but he'd missed it. They went to Molineux, and Ten Hag dropped him from the starting lineup. The game was 0-0. They needed him. He was their best player at the time. They brought him on. He scored a winner. I think he had another goal disallowed that day. But the point stands that he made a brave decision. And now, I would ask you, when will Mauricio Pochettino make a drastic, shocking, brilliant, innovative, clever decision? Will it ever happen? Have you seen anything to suggest that he's capable? How good is Pochettino? I appreciate that he is the most educated in a football conversation at the club. But that is because everyone above him is useless. He's not an elite manager. I don't want him sacked. I don't think we could get anyone better than him anyway. But he's got to improve. He's got to take his fair share of the responsibility. And he really does have to improve certain players. Like, think about Manchester United again. Compare it to Ten Hag. Scott McTominay scoring 2 goals to win the game. Again this season. In the summer, it's looking like he could have gone to Bayern Munich. It's looking like he could have gone to West Ham. They didn't want him. But he's hung about and he's improved. And Ten Hag has got a performance out of him. He's finally tuned him to create something in McTominay. You look at, say, the performance of Amrabat. Amrabat had his best game for Manchester United against Chelsea. I mean, of course he did, because our midfielders, they're not combative and they're not very good. But he had his best game. And again, Ten Hag got it right. And Amrabat's best performance comes up against 2 midfielders who cost £250 million. Prior to last night, his best performances for Manchester United were at left back. It's truly ridiculous. And you think about how dominant Manchester United were against us. They should have really had us buried by half time, shouldn't they? Sanchez saved a penalty. If that penalty goes in, I imagine that the game is completely different. But there were so many players on the Chelsea team that were just not up to it. You're looking at, where'd you start? Nicholas Jackson's not a Premier League footballer. Mykhailo Mudryk, I'm not convinced he's a Premier League footballer. And it all stems from idiotic decisions made at the top. Humbling. Awful. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm just gutted, man. Just so gutted.